Hello. In our crosstalks, we will be covering today web AR, web-based augmented reality. And our guest today is like world-class agency founder, Dan. Hello. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, feeling great. I'm pleased to have you today on our crosstalks. And can you please present yourself? I'm sure everyone knows you, but who might don't know you. Great, let's start.
Okay. So I'm Dan. Again, I'm Dan, one of the partners at Groove Jones. We're a studio in Dallas, Texas. That is, we're really focused in on a lot of the extended reality applications and platforms out there. So a lot of AR, a lot of VR, mixed reality, machine learning, artificial intelligence, all that stuff. But we're really here to talk about AR. We're based in Dallas, Texas, but we actually have, our staff is all over. We've got about 80, 85 people in our studio. And then if you look at who we work with a lot of different brands out there. About probably 4 or 5 years ago, half of our business came from agency partners, but really over the last 2 or 3 years, we work directly with a lot of brands. So our business has changed considerably. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about AR. I've got a couple slides to kind of do a deep dive on AR. I know that some of you may be like an AR expert or an AR enthusiast, but I want to kind of at least show some of this to kind of let the people who may be new, get them up to speed on it.
Yeah.
When you look at this video, this is a great video. It was made by Adobe. I like it because it's got some of our work in it, but they actually show a lot of different AR. AR could mean a lot of different things. Of course, it means augmented reality, but like, what is AR? And so when you look at this video, I mean, it could be games, it could be a headset, it could be a lens that you're looking through, it could be looking through a mobile device or an iPad, anything that's camera enabled. It could be for product visualization, interactivity, entertainment. It's really hard to define. Other than it really is, it's digital content that I'm seeing through the lens of my reality. So let's kind of dig into that. So I could talk about headsets and all that. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why AR is important. It's really because everybody's got an AR device. There's about 2 billion AR-enabled devices out there. Every year it grows even more. All the new devices coming out are getting more and more sophisticated around it. So everybody's got an AR device. Mm-hmm. If you look at like how Apple and Android have been in the AR space for like 5 to 7 years, it's been a long time. Mm-hmm. Apple with AR Kit and Android with AR Core, they were both doing individual platforms. However, over the last couple of years, more and more things are coming together, and standards are coming together where when we deploy things, when we build things, it could work on both Android or on Apple devices, which is great for developers. So a lot of support. It's becoming part of the operating systems of your devices. People get confused as to, they think, well, AR it's in my camera, the content. It's really not. The content is not in your camera. You're seeing the content through your camera. So the content is really, it's being downloaded and being viewed through your camera lens. Being downloaded from the cloud, could be downloaded and played through an app. But right now, mostly everything we're seeing is being downloaded and being displayed digitally through the cloud. So it's not built into your camera. If you look at like how AR has evolved over time, AR is not new. It's been around since the early 2000s when really people were building apps. I was building apps and that were AR apps back then. And then around 2015, Snap started integrating AR into the camera lens of the application because it was a camera app. Same thing with Instagram, and then Facebook took that over. Mm-hmm. So for about 2015, social apps were a great way to see AR. And that's where a lot of people saw AR because they were doing stupid face filters and things like that. But it was still an app. So that's great. Now, the key thing around social AR is that the file size has got to be small. So the platforms restrict the file size because they want it to be downloaded fast. So it's still great. It's still good. It does have file size requirements that are limiting it. About 2019, really that's when web AR started to happen. And that was through SDKs, software development kits. So Google was doing it, and you could do web AR before that, but it wasn't great. It was it was dropping frames per second, very low frames per second. It wasn't that great of an experience. But since then, web AR has gotten really good. And it's really opened up the floodgates to AR development, which is fantastic. And so that's really basically viewing AR content through a web browser that accesses your camera. And then the next thing is native AR, which is really, that's kind of like where Apple and Android have agreed to certain standards for file types. And so we're able to view AR through anything, through a web browser, through mail, through text. Really, the native operating systems applications can view AR, anything that can access your camera. So USDZ and GLTF files are three-dimensional files. They're fantastic looking. They are going to be the MP3 of AR eventually. Kind of like, hey, send me a USDZ file. And that's your 3D file. People just don't use it yet, but I have a feeling in a couple of years it'll become that way. Send me your 3D file.
Yeah, great point.
When you look at SDKs, there are a lot of SDKs out there. When we work with SDK, so we work with all of these guys. They all really do one thing better than another thing. They all kind of do something slightly different than the other. So whenever you're using an SDK, you've really got to find the right SDK that does the right thing for you at a price that you want to pay. So all of these, they'll charge you for a licensing fee, and then they usually charge a fee per instance. And they're great. It allows us to build stuff for web AR quickly, and it's really helped out the whole community. If you look at like how people engage with web AR, so generally this is kind of a user flow that we use. We've got to tell people, hey, something's web AR enabled, or hey, this thing has AR on it. We just don't know it yet. So you've got to see it. Oh, there's a call to action. Hey, this has AR. How do I activate it? And generally that's done through a QR code, or I get a URL or text that has a link in it. So that gets me to the content, or even a banner ad. A banner ad can take me to where the content is. So content my camera just doesn't detect web AR. I've got to go to where the web AR content is. So generally those are the main ways that we do it. But once I scan a QR code or hit a link, it then takes me to that web page. And then that web page asks, can I have access to your camera? So this is a security protocol that the operating systems do. So websites don't access your camera without your permission. So you hit allow, you engage with the AR experience, and then you can capture a photo or a video, or you can share the link to on your social platforms. So this may look like a lot of steps. It's not. I've just broken it down very granularly so you can see what the user experience is like. But it does. It happens like within a second or two. I scan it, I allow it, I engage. It's really fluid. So, what is AR? How does AR work, and what does it do? So some of the key functionality around it is image recognition. So if you look at faces or bodies, the cameras can detect faces really well. That's across the board. So I could put sunglasses on or hats on people. The machine learning libraries are fantastic to where pretty much anything can detect your face. Bodies are more complex, but every month it gets better. Literally every week,
every day,
every month, every day it's getting better. It's crazy. A year ago, like you really had to have an app But nowadays, everything is slowly getting bodies together. So why are bodies different than faces? Well, first of all, we have different body shapes. We wear clothes that hide your body. The way we stand or the way our arms are positioned may obfuscate how the camera is viewing my body. So the systems have to be more and more, just more and more sophisticated to do that. But it's working. It's getting there. It's really getting there. This is a great example. I think this was done on Snap, but this is a fantastic. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's Snap.
This is fantastic. I mean, he's able to move around. It's tracking his body.
And you can't even differentiate the difference if it's real or not real. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So that just means that, man, it's progressing. It's really progressing at a really rapid rate. If you look at flat images, so printed flat images, you can train a camera, you can train any of the AR platforms to recognize an image. And it really doesn't see like an apple or a hand. What it sees is the peaks and valleys, like the histogram of an image. I could train something to recognize that, and I can open it up. It becomes a fingerprint of a printed image. That's fairly easy to do. Objects are a little bit more complex because they have different shapes and sizes. So I've got to create a machine learning library that recognizes a lot of different shapes. And again, primarily apps are the way to do that. I'm about to open, like, say, social and web AR is getting better and better and better around that. I think that's about to break. Like, it's happening pretty soon. I will say this: Samsung had a system called Bixby, which the native camera had some really good technology. So where it was recognizing objects and shapes. Eventually, I think Apple's camera and Android's camera systems will just work. They're just going to identify things, and then it's going to prompt information around it. So it's happening right now in a lot of these, which is really, really cool. In fact, if you open up like Apple's photo album or photo app, it doesn't do it live in camera, but once it's in the photo app, it's starting to recognize things. It's always recognized people, but now it's starting to recognize animals. So you'll notice a little magical sparkle next to the eye. That means it's detected something. And if it has a paw print on it, it's detected that type of animal. It's really cool. So how are people using these? Well, they're using kind of images as markers. So there's something, I've programmed the application to recognize it, and then I can kind of bring that object to life or that image to life. So that's kind of cool. Those open up a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah. What is better here to use, like social AR or web AR for this kind of experience?
Well, we use web AR in this one, but social and web. Social's really, really, really good.
Yeah, web, that's why I'm asking.
Good. Yeah, we just did a thing with social. Our first ones were with social, but image recognition works great on all the platforms.
Yeah, right.
And how aggressive can it be? Like, you'll notice the camera here is moving around quite a bit. It attaches that 3D content to that printed ticket. So, and it's fully three-dimensional. So I can move my camera around. I can be really malicious, aggressive with it, and it just attaches to it. So it's really, really good. The other way AR is detecting my world is using SLAM. So SLAM is simultaneous localization and mapping. It's basically, it's part of your operating system, and it is basically allowing the camera to understand flat surfaces, both horizontal and vertical flat surfaces. So when I move my camera around, the camera understands where it is in its three-dimensional space. So that allows me to place objects like a car or furniture or a giant dinosaur and engage with those things as if they're really there. So SLAM is part of your operating system, and it works. And so, like, when you look at like cars, so like here's something we did with Lexus, where you've got a digital car next to a physical car. And so
you can differentiate.
I can see hot spots and interactive pieces to it. You'll notice here too that the digital car is actually showing reflections of the world around it, which is really sophisticated. A year or two
ago, amazing.
It's amazing. It's like, how are they doing? It's like black magic. It's voodoo. How is it happening? But it's happening. So the 3D objects are now picking up materials from around you and reflecting it. The other thing about digital is like I can walk inside of it and I can see what's going on inside of it. I couldn't do that with a physical car. So digital sometimes is better than physical.
Yeah, it is because like you can get so much information and in such a beautiful way. Yep. It's amazing.
Yeah. So it's really, I mean, it just gets better and better and better. So let's talk about like how better can it be? So if you look at how everything's represented, it's the geometry. The 3D models are being represented in real life. And these are not, this is not exact science. 3D objects are made up of these little polygons that create the 3D objects. The more polygons I have, the more details and organic something can look. We just kind of increase the level of detail, or actually decrease the level of detail, just so you can see the differences. App and native, I can have more polygons. It's able to display better. Social can have a lot of polygons, but again, it's a little less. And then web AR, it's even less because it's got to process through that web browser. Apps and native AR doesn't need that processing through a browser. So I'm able to have more detailed 3D files. If you look at like lighting and textures and all that too, again, I can only display certain amount of detail through the different platforms. And that's why a lot of times web AR, for a car especially, I may want to hide what's inside the car because I want to put all those polygons on the outside of a car. I want the car to look really real, and I don't care about the inside. So I may darken the windows because I'm going to have to show that 3D. So this kind of shows you different ways that the quality level is a little different.
And it's all about objectives, what you have and what you can choose.
Absolutely. You may want to show off a lot more, or it's okay. There's really no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, right.
And again, like for us, so what makes something successful? AR is not a silver bullet, and it needs to be special. And so when we work on stuff, we want it to be, we want it to be magical. We want it to be like, whoa, where did that come from? Or how are they doing that? If it's all about marketing and it's like, it's really not that great. Like, don't do AR just for the sake of doing AR. You got to do something special. So that's the way we look at it. Now, some good stats that are out there. What we've found is that, there are some great statistics as to why AR is important. So one thing is people who use AR to visualize something during the purchasing process, for house, they're saying it's 11 times more likely to make a purchase, which is great. For visualizing something, making a purchase, it actually lowers the return rate. So if I've seen it and I've checked it out in my space, when I get it and put it in there, I'm less likely to return it because I've kind of validated that already. So it lowers the return policy.
And must have for e-commerce businesses.
Yes. It's really great for e-com. And then here's the other thing you need to think about web AR, especially, any AR, but AR especially, it doesn't stream. So I can watch a movie, a giant, hour-long YouTube video, and I can start watching it almost immediately, even if it's a gig or 2 or 3 gigs, because it streams. AR doesn't stream. I've got to download the entire package to then view it. So that's why most AR experiences are smaller and snackable, because we have to download the content. Now, as 5G is getting better, and then any other faster connectivity, I can have bigger files. So that's one thing you always want to be conscious of, is creating something that's packaged to where it can be downloaded quickly. Because if people have to wait 30 seconds or a minute, they're not going to play it. They're going to drop off. They're not going to wait that long. So that's probably one of the keys things. It's got to be snackable and short. So we tracking good?
Of course.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Great. So I'm going to kind of walk through a couple different experiences that we've done. So let's talk about retail experiences. One was this Dias de los Muertos, Day of the Dead experience that we did with Modelo. It was an out-of-home experience. So it was a lot of outdoor murals, but then they also used it in-store as well. So a lot of point-of-purchase displays, a lot of table tents, postcards, even beer coasters as well. And they just wanted to do something special. They wanted to bring this kind of authentic-looking mural that has the sugar skull, woman there, bring her to life using AR. And so we used web AR for this one. And then they used it for like activations and things like that, really kind of down and dirty. But if you look at it, all of the images, it was the same image across. So whether it was big or small, we trained the camera to recognize that. And when you activated it, it would bring it to life. And it was cool too. It brought it to life. There was music with it, and it was looped. So I'll play it right here real quick.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Let me play this.
Oh.
So this was really kind of a special thing. It looped, and so it was really about a 15-second animation, and then it would play over and over and over again. And so we found that people watched it and kept watching it and would walk around and look at it from all angles.
And also they could also make a video themselves into this experience. Imagine what type of content they would have.
Yep. So, and again, we did this around Halloween. So Dias de los Muertos, I think, is at the end of October, beginning of November, but it ties in Halloween here in the United States, and I think around the country, to where it was really kind of it was definitely popular because of the time. It resonated with a lot of people. It didn't necessarily resonate. You didn't have to be a beer drinker. You didn't have to be Hispanic. It just resonated because it was that time of the year and people were looking for something fun to do. So when you look at it like, well, how are these produced? Well, we produce them a lot like traditional methods. We concept things out. We storyboard them out. So here our artist actually sketched everything out, did different designs for them to approve. We then had to create 3-dimensional models of everything. So we had to create a CGI version of the bottle of her flicking the lid off and then kind of raising it up to the audience. And then our artist actually painted the mural. So we created this traditional style mural to bring to life. And so for the campaign, we put it at these high points of traffic. And because it was around Halloween, it blew up. It blew up on both traditional media and on social. Why? Because it was relevant. Hey, something you need to do this Halloween weekend, go down and check out the Modelo mural. And so it was listed as like one of the top 5, top 10 things, like in Miami, the 8 best things to do this Miami weekend. It's like,
crazy.
Go to the street corner and look at the banner ad or look at the mural, and people were doing it. It was really, really cool. So that helped blow it up. So this was all along the East Coast of the United States, from New York to Miami. It was at these different locations, and people were doing that. So after the campaign was over, they looked at like, what did it do? Did it really do anything? And yeah, it did. It increased sales. in those areas 16.5% year to date. So definitely lift in sales. They got a lot of social impressions. So they were tracking on like who was sharing it, how was it being shared. And then the cool thing about it too was people were watching it for 2 to 3 minutes. So
in these days,
it's a billboard. And the animation was I think it was like 15 to 20 seconds, but people were watching it for 2 to 3 minutes. So it had a really long dwell time.
Because it is really mesmerizing.
Yes. Yeah. This was really special. It won a lot of awards. It was beautiful. So again, it's like, it's got to be special. It's got to be special. Let's talk about product demos and things like that. So product demos are great for visualization. So sometimes it can show off different things that you couldn't see with the traditional product. So with Callaway Golf, they came up with this new golf head, and it had some really cool technology inside of the golf head, but they were really struggling to find out, like, how do we demonstrate that what's inside, because they didn't want to have to cut them open and have them on display at all their retail locations. So what we did was we created an AR experience where you could go into the store, whether it's at the front door, at their golf swing bays, or even where the products were listed. There are QR codes there that you can activate and learn about the golf head, like why it's important. So you've got that part of it. So I scan it. It's an AR experience where I'm going to allow you to dissect the golf head in 3D and visualize it, both the driver and the iron. So that was really cool. Mm-hmm. But because it's part of a web delivery mechanism, right? We also included what's the correct golf head for you. So there was a product selection tool that was built into this thing, which is really cool. We also had really cool product videos as well of why it was important. So it was an AR experience. It was a product selector, and then it also showed off videos around it. So I'll show you a quick video of what it looked like. Mm-hmm. We're visualizing 3D models of the golf head. You can tap it to explode it, see the different pieces of it. It was larger than life. So I can blow this thing up and make it really large. It's a great way of displaying something digital in store and getting to learn about it. Here's another interesting thing that we're doing too. So IBM, they hired us to create some product visualizations for some of their hardware and cool technologies. So if you would go to a traditional IBM Think conference, they always bring their Systems One, their IBM Q computer out there, which is this massive air-conditioned box. But because of COVID, they couldn't do that anymore. So everybody was able to, during a traditional online conference, they would release this out as either QR codes or links. And then I could drop a Q system in my living room, and I can view it there. So we had to recreate all of the coils in there and CGI, and then I could drop it in my living room. I'll show you a quick video of that one as well. So this was both a WebGL experience and it was an AR experience. So I could view it on a desktop browser. So if I didn't have a camera, I could view it on a desktop browser. Or if I had a mobile device, I could drop it as an AR piece and go outside and view it. But then I can view it from all different angles. There were hot spots that I could tap to learn about it. And I could see it at full scale. So it did like massive 10-foot by 10-foot AR experience. Same thing with some of their mainframe computers. These are giant mainframe computers, and we used AR to show how big they are. Or I could add multiple mainframe computers, so I can kind of see how big of a space, like 5, 10 of these would look in a server room or in my own space. So again, simple, quick digital experiences. Tap, they're interactive, they have sound. Like here I'm lining 3 or 4 of them up. Animations. It's really special.
It is.
Okay, now to kind of like here's kind of just fun stuff. So remote promotional experiences. So this is a fun one. So we did this. We did a lot of work with the Dallas Mavericks stuff. This was all kind of fan-based interactive experiences.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot with social. So the first couple ones we did with the Dallas Mavericks were all social. And then we ended up doing more web AR experiences with them. But this was using giant murals. So we did two different versions because they have two different jerseys for the season.
Mm-hmm.
And one was on street level, and one was at really high level up on a like 14 stories up. But what it was an interactive game, and so they would announce it, they promote it on their website, and then you'd go to a street corner and you'd activate with it. So this is what it looked like. So I'm across the street. It recognized that billboard. You can kind of see it moving around as well.
Mm-hmm.
I can just attach to it. So Krzysztof Porzinski passes the ball to me, and then I'm flicking the ball, and he's blocking every shot. So you're trying to score on him.
No way.
No way.
Yeah. So this was really cool. So this was part of a campaign that they were doing to raise money around food hunger here in the Dallas area. So every block shot that he did, $500 was donated to his charity. So it was part of an awareness campaign around it. And then it was also a really cool fan experience to get people out there. If you look at it too, so that one was on street level, and then we had to adjust it for when it was on top of this building, which was really 14.
It's not easy.
No, no. But you'll notice we kind of angled everything down a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, he was still able to pass it to you. But this was a different experience. We changed the color of his jerseys and everything like that. So fun stuff.
No way.
And then here's like another really kind of weird campaign. We just did this. So we worked with an agency on a Fanimator experience where they would scan your face. So this is like get you into the action. It scans your face. This is all web AR.
Yeah.
Scan your face. We put your face onto a 3D avatar. I can then customize my avatar. I can then pick the colors of my avatar. I then pick a dance move of my avatar. And then you submit it, and then we will send you yourself as an avatar doing a cool fan dance. And then I could place it anywhere in the world, whether small or big, and then I could make fun videos of it. All of the dance moves are part of the process that we're doing is, creating these animations based on, real bodies. I'll play this video. This is kind of fun and cute. So it really kind of shows, oh, this is fun. I'm getting you into the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So they had fun dances. When I get the file, I place it, and I can create videos.
It's super amazing.
Everybody's looking to kind of create content. And so that's a way of giving fans a tool to do something. And
to become your brand ambassador, really easy.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's all about creativity. It depends on your creative ideas.
More creative, the better. But that kind of gives you an overview of different types of AR that we've been doing and different ways to apply it. Like I said, there are so many different ways to show it, but I try to show enough to kind of give you. And we didn't even talk about headset AR, but
maybe next time. Maybe next time we can cover that. Yeah. It was like more than enough how you covered. I'm sure like people won't have any kind of questions, but if they have, they will just send us these questions and maybe we will cover in our next call.
Absolutely.
But the first question I have is that what on cross creators we suffer is communication with clients. They come to us in the sake of to make an augmented reality content. So let's give them some kind of advice, what types of questions they should answer before deciding to go to this direction and making augmented reality content.
So like to me, it's always, I always ask people, what is the end use going to be? So everybody wants to talk about like, ooh, this cup of coffee is great. I love coffee. Let's do something about coffee. And it's like, okay, but where are we going to serve the coffee? Or how is it going to be? How are people going to get the coffee? Or, that's where we always go. Where will this be? Where do you envision this living? So that's one thing a lot of people don't determine. Is it going to be in retail? Is it going to be in store? Or is it going to be at home? Or are they going to get it off the social? And then kind of work backwards from that. That's how we'll help advise people. As, okay, it's going to be at retail. Okay, well, how are people going to find out that is AR enabled? Well, we need to put a call to action there. Let them know this is AR enabled. And then it's like, okay, do we want to put a QR code or do we want to put a URL? Like the Modelo mural didn't have a QR code. It just said visit modelomural.com. So people type that in. But because of COVID, everybody's like, QR codes are cool now. So, well, maybe not cool, but they understand it better. So we always try to find out the end in mind. Like, where is it going to be? What are we going to do with it?
Yeah, it's super important them to understand this, like within the big objective, what they want to get from this augmented reality content. And for the beginners, is it better to start with social AR or web AR? And you were talking about like in the several cases that you started with social AR and then transformed into web AR direction. And why was that? Can you tell us?
Well, because the social platforms have a lot of tools built into it. So they make it easier to build things because they've been around a little longer and they've built out a platform in order to do that. Web AR, they've come up with a lot of tools as well that make it easy as well. So, a year, 1 or 2 or 3 years ago, it was social, like had all the tools, and web AR was still in its infancy. Now it's I don't know if it's equal, but social seems to be a little bit easier to play around with and dabble and experience. The other thing around social too is anybody can do it. Social platforms have to approve it, but if you are an independent developer, you can go in there, start creating something, submit it for approval, and then it could go live and it's available. If you do it on web AR, now I've got to promote that and I've got to get that out to people. Yeah. So sometimes social can help kickstart people using it, and it's a lot easier to share.
Yeah, thank you. And also, it might also be very beneficial to use all together, like with different objective in social AR, just for promotion and for usability and try-on campaigns, maybe web AR. And to say about like application AR, how popular is it among your clients right now?
Not as popular.
Because of this budget or? Well,
because of budget, and also you have to download an app. However, we still do a lot of app AR. They're really for more sophisticated experiences. However, or larger experiences. So if we want people to use their devices and we want it to be a quick hit, it's social and web AR. If we want people to have a bigger, deeper experience that they're open to downloading it, then we might push for an app. But generally speaking, it's less and less now. Yeah, web AR has gotten so great, and there's just a lot more options out there.
And do you recommend to use these SDK platforms more, or to build their own CRM system, for example?
Oh, I have a lot of friends who are in the web AR space, and so we love the SDKs. They have a lot of really good tools. Native AR is not going to solve everything right now, but again, every week it changes. Like every week they get a new feature or a special. So we generally push for doing web AR using an SDK.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we generally will use with our clients, generally speaking.
Yeah, right. To talk about pain points, you as an agency, do you have some kind of like really highlighted pain points while communicating with clients? No.
Well, I think here's one pain point. When people will go through the reviews and they'll look at creative and they'll sign off on things, we want people to test it on the devices that they're going to be using. And so sometimes through a production process, they'll approve videos and JPEGs or storyboards and all that, and they never pull out their camera and actually like test it.
Use it.
Until the end, until it's like, okay, now it's live. So we force all of our clients to, are you looking at it through a camera? Are you doing it? Because we want them to do it in the format that it's going to end up being. So that truly is a pain point when people aren't viewing it in the device that it's going to be finally released on. That's a pain point because they'll prove it, but then they didn't do it in full AR. And they're like, oh, this is different than I thought it would be. It's like, well, because you didn't look at it in AR. So let's walk through that. So that's a pain point to me.
And that's the only one, or you can remember some other stuff?
Well, or people just have misconceptions of what AR can do. They may want to keep throwing things into it, which make it larger and larger and larger.
Complex.
Yeah, and so we've got to balance that. We've got to balance file size, quality, and really all the features and functionality that they want to have in it. So sometimes that's a conversation. It becomes a conversation you have to have is, okay, look, we've got to cut something because now it's getting too big and it's going to take a little longer to download. And we're advising you that's probably not good. That's not going to serve your interest. So I think, the file size is a pain point, but it's totally doable if your clients if they understand the space, they understand file size, and they understand why you want to keep it small.
But how frequent is that your clients understand this space?
It's not that often.
That's why I'm asking about pain points.
Yeah. They get it. They get it. Once they get into production, they get it. So.
Do you have requirements or orders about NFT and metaverse? Because there is so much hype today, and what you can say about it, how you can see this future.
Well, the metaverse is the Wild West to us. It is. It could be anything. Yeah. So when people say, it's almost like when people would say, I want to do a VR thing, but they meant AR. So there's just this confusion that, or people say, I want to do something in the metaverse. Which one? There's not a metaverse. There are many, and what exactly you want to do. So I think that's going to take some time for people to understand that there's not just a metaverse. There's a lot of space out there. NFTs. I think there's a purpose for NFTs, blockchain, but I don't think everything needs to be an NFT or so.
In my opinion, Web 2 is not. Yeah, Web 2 is not covered yet, so we are jumping in Web 3 whenever we don't cover Web 2. So,
exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, this immersive technologies like AR, VR needs to be in Web 2 and Web 3 as well. So we are here to help.
Absolutely. Definitely here to help. And I think it's okay to, kind of like what I was going through that kind of process of trying to explain things. We do a lot of that with our customers just to make sure that they understand what it is they're talking about. So they may talk a lot like they know something, and then we always bring them up to speed on something. So I think they appreciate the educational part of it too.
Right.
They're just not checking a box off. Oh, hey, I did a fee or I experience. So this is really what it means. So
great. Maybe it's done for today. We covered, I think, a lot of topics for today, and we will be waiting questions from you guys if you have any, because like Dan covered super amazingly today. But anyway, we will be waiting for your questions, and we will be covering in our next call maybe headset direction, because it's also really interesting for brands.
It is. Cool. Well, I'm glad I could help.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
Great.
You're
Have
great.
a good night. I'm going to start my day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.